Hey everyone, welcome back to Adventures with Michael and Julie. I have something special. Today we are diving into my top 10 horror authors. These authors have kept me up at night, not just with their terrifying tales, but with their incredible ability to weave stories that linger long after their final page. Whether it's masterful suspense by Daphne du Maurier or the epic sagas of Stephen King, each of these authors have earned their place in the Horror Hall of Fame. Let's get started. Number 10, Shirley Jackson. Shirley Jackson was an American writer known for her works of horror and psychological suspense. Her career took off with the publication of The Lottery in The New Yorker in 1948, a story that shocked readers with its dark portrayal of human nature. Jackson had a unique ability to make the ordinary seem terrifying. The Haunting of Hill House is a prime example of this, where she builds dread through the unseen and the unspoken. Her story often explores themes of alienation and madness, making the reader question what is real and what is imagined. Key works include The Haunting of Hill House, 1959, We Have Always Lived in the Castle, 1962, and The Lottery, 1948. What I love about Shirley Jackson is her ability to turn the mundane into something utterly terrifying. Her characters often seem normal on the surface, but as you dig deeper, you uncover layers of psychological horror that stick with you long after you finished reading. The Haunting of Hill House remains one of the most unsettling books that I have ever read, and The Lottery still haunts me with its brutal twist. Number 9, Richard Matheson. Richard Matheson was an American author and screenwriter, known for his ability to blend horror with science fiction and fantasy. He's perhaps best known for his novel I Am Legend, which has been adapted into several films and remains a touchstone in both horror and sci-fi genres. Matheson's work often explores the psychological struggles of his characters, particularly in the face of supernatural or otherworldly threats. His stories frequently delve into the isolation and fear of the unknown, as seen in Hell House and The Shrinking Man. Key works include I Am Legend, 1954, Hell House, 1971, and The Shrinking Man, 1956. Matheson's work is a masterclass in blending genres. I Am Legend isn't just a vampire story, it's a profound exploration of loneliness and what it means to be human. His ability to create tension and unease while still weaving in deep emotional themes makes his work unforgettable. Reading Hell House was like stepping into a nightmare, but I didn't want to escape. Number 8, Bram Stoker. Bram Stoker was an Irish author, best known for his 1897 novel Dracula. Though not the first vampire novel, Dracula established many conventions of subsequent vampire fantasy and gained immense popularity, defining how the world views vampires to this day. Stoker's Dracula is not just a horror novel, it's a gothic masterpiece that combines elements of romance, horror, and adventure. The novel's format adds to the suspense, making readers feel like they are uncovering the mystery alongside the characters. Key works include Dracula, 1897, The Jewel of Seven Stars, 1903, and The Lair of the White Worm, 1911. On a personal note, I will tell you that we actually stayed in Bram Stoker's castle, who wrote just a block away in Ireland a couple of years ago. He actually has a park that sits behind the castle named after him, and the rumor was that he used Clontarf Castle, which is now a hotel, as the setting for his Dracula novel. Anyone who thinks of classic horror thinks of Dracula. That has to be the first book that comes to mind. Bram Stoker created a character and a mythos that has transcended literature, influencing countless films, books, and TV shows. Dracula isn't a vampire story. It's a rich, atmospheric tale that captures the imagination. Every time I read it, I'm reminded of why this book is such a pillar of the horror genre. Number 7. Stephen Graham Jones. Stephen Graham Jones is a contemporary Blackfeet author who has been recognized for his unique contributions to the horror genre. He often incorporates elements of Native American culture and folklore into his stories, giving them a fresh and compelling perspective. Jones' work is notable for its sharp prose and his ability to weave cultural themes into horror. The Only Good Indians is a powerful exploration of guilt, tradition, and supernatural vengeance, while Mongrels offers a gritty, realistic take on werewolf mythology. Current key works include The Only Good Indians, 2020, Mongrels, 2016, and My Heart is a Chainsaw, 2021. Stephen Graham Jones is a breath of fresh air in the horror genre. His stories are deeply rooted in cultural identity and folklore, yet they're universal in the way they tackle fear and survival. The Only Good Indians left me thinking about the story and its themes for days. His work is intense, thought-provoking, and genuinely terrifying. Number 6. Joe Hill. Joe Hill is an American author and the son of Stephen King. He has carved out his own successful career in horror with several bestsellers to his name. Hill's work often blends horror with dark fantasy, exploring the psychological depths of his characters. Hill's novels, like Heart-Shaped Box and Nosferatu, showcase his talent for creating deeply unsettling atmospheres and memorable, complex characters. He's also a master of the short story form, with 20th Century Ghosts being a standout collection. Key works include Heart-Shaped Box, 2007, Nosferatu, 2013, Horns, 2010, and Lock and Key, a series from 2008 to 2013. Joe Hill may have inherited a love of horror from his father, but he's definitely made the genre his own. His stories are filled with dark, imaginative twists, and his characters often struggle with deep, personal demons. Nosferatu is one of my favorites, with its blend of supernatural horror and emotional depth. Hill's work is perfect for those who love horror with a strong psychological edge. Number 5. Robert Bloch. Robert Bloch was an American author, primarily known for his psychological horror novel, Psycho, which inspired Alfred Hitchcock's classic film. Bloch was a prolific writer with a career that spanned over 6 decades, contributing significantly to horror and science fiction. Bloch's exploration of the human psyche, particularly in Psycho, set the standard for psychological horror. His work often delved into the minds of disturbed individuals, creating stories that are as much about the horror within as the horror without. Key works include Psycho, 1959, American Gothic, 1974, and Night of the Ripper, 1984. Robert Bloch's Psycho is a landmark in horror fiction. It's a masterful exploration of the human mind, and the way he peels back the layers of Norman Bates is both terrifying and fascinating. Bloch's work reminds us that the most frightening monsters are often the ones inside our own heads. His ability to blend horror with psychological depth is what makes him one of my top horror authors. Number 4. Peter Straub. Peter Straub was an American author known for his literary approach to horror. He gained widespread acclaim with his novel Ghost Story, and later collaborated with Stephen King on The Talisman and its sequel, Black House. Straub's work often combines elements of the supernatural with deep psychological insight. Straub's ability to weave intricate character-driven stories that explore the boundaries between reality and the supernatural sets him apart. His novels are known for their complex narratives and haunting atmospheres, particularly in the works like Shadowland and Floating Dragon. Key works include Ghost Story, 1979, The Talisman, 1984, and Shadowland, 1980. Peter Straub's writing is so richly textured, it's like stepping into another world, one that's both beautiful and terrifying. Ghost Story is a prime example of how Straub can take the classic ghost story and elevate it into something much more profound and chilling. His collaborations with Stephen King are also incredible, building their distinct voices into something truly unique. Straub's work is the kind you want to savor even as it sends shivers down your spine. Number 3, Ray Bradbury. Ray Bradbury was an American author renowned for his science fiction and fantasy works. However, his contributions to horror are equally significant, with stories that often explore eerie, speculative landscapes filled with strange, unsettling forces. His poetic prose and nostalgic tone makes his horror more reflective but no less chilling. Bradbury's work often blends horror with fantasy, touching on themes of morality, fear of the unknown, and the tension between technology and nature. His stories in The October Country and Something Wicked This Way Comes delve into darker corners of small-town life. Key works include The October Country, 1955, Something Wicked This Way Comes, 1962, and Dark Carnival, 1947. Ray Bradbury. Bradbury's horror feels timeless. His stories mix wonder with terror, making the strange seem both beautiful and frightening. Something Wicked This Way Comes captures that childhood fear of the unknown, while The October Country is full of haunting, eerie tales that stick with you long after you've finished reading. Number 2, Stephen King. Stephen King is an American author often hailed as the king of horror. With a prolific career spanning decades, King has written over 60 novels, many of which have been adapted into iconic films and TV shows. His ability to tap into everyday fears and explore human nature makes his work resonate with readers across generations. King's exploration of the ordinary turned horrifying, whether it's a possessed car in Christine or a haunted hotel in The Shining, makes his stories particularly unsettling. He is also known for building rich, detailed worlds both in his novels and shared universes in the Dark Towers series. Key works include It, 1986, The Shining, 1977, and Pet Sematary, 1983. Stephen King doesn't just write horror. He writes about people. His ability to build characters you care about only to place them in horrifying situations is what makes him so unique. Whether it's a small town plagued by an evil entity or a haunted hotel, King makes you feel every moment of terror. He's more than a master of horror. He's a master storyteller. Number 1, Daphne du Maurier. Daphne du Maurier was a British author and playwright whose works often straddled the line between Gothic romance and psychological horror. She's best known for her novel Rebecca, a classic of 20th century literature, but her short stories like The Birds and Don't Look Now have also left an indelible mark on the horror genre. Du Maurier's writing is known for its moody atmospheres, complex characters, and subtle, creeping dread. Du Maurier had a unique talent for exploring themes of identity, jealousy, and the supernatural, all while keeping readers on the edge of their seats. Rebecca is a masterclass in Gothic suspense, with its haunting depiction of a young woman's psychological torment. Meanwhile, stories like The Birds and Don't Look Now delve into the terror of the unknown, leaving readers with a profound sense of unease. Key works include Rebecca, 1938, The Birds, 1952, and Don't Look Now, 1971. And one, number one might just be my favorite book, my favorite author. I have to thank Julie for introducing her to me. If you can believe it, I had never heard of this lady prior to meeting Julie. I did read My Cousin Rachel first, but this one is up there on the Mount Rushmore. Daphne du Maurier's ability to craft subtle yet terrifying atmospheres is second to none. Her novel Rebecca still gives me chills with its haunting tension, and stories like The Birds and Don't Look Now continue to inspire modern horror. She's a master of psychological fear, and every time I read her, I find new layers of terror, and it's almost like reading a new novel each time.